What's one marketing lesson you learned the hard way? That's one of the questions I asked on my NCU group, and there's a ton of comments already coming in there. 50% of your Dante said 50% of your marketing works, and 100% of the people have hired you. Use the other half. Marketing agencies are snake oil sales. Damn, dude, marketing companies have such a bad name in our industry. Results speak for themselves, period. I think that one of the biggest marketing lessons I learned in my short journey at Nexion and Home Comfort was so besides the consistency of marketing, besides the repetitiveness, besides making sure that you have a marketing budget for the year and making sure that you're in constant communication with your marketing companies, the one thing that I learned is you can't trust marketing companies with your information, meaning you got to own the domain, you got to be the host of you got to own the website, you got to own your Google Ads account, you got to own your Yelp account, you got to own your social media accounts. You got like the one thing that I got screwed over in the early stages of NextGen. I used to have this company called Stillwater, and I don't care if you don't bleep it out, but I don't even know if they're still around. But Stillwater was good with me for about 2 years, and then they just we weren't getting the results we needed, we weren't getting the volume we needed, we were spending anywhere between $500,000 to $600,000 a month in total marketing budget at the time, and we were just having the struggles with them. We weren't getting the responsiveness that we wanted, and I still remember, the having that tough conversation with them and saying, "Hey, man, maybe this isn't the right company for us, or this is maybe it's time for us to move on, or we outgrew it, or whatever the case was." I had a good conversation with Lance, the CEO, and I told him, "Hey, man, I'm gonna move on to another company. Let's make this as smooth as possible, and all this." And we start transitioning to another company called Ad Leverage, which my buddy Andrew owns. And I still remember at the time they were holding me hostage to my Google Ads account. They were holding me hostage to my website. They were holding me hostage to my Yelp account. They had management access, and they had all the management access to all these accounts where they controlled them. Like I didn't control them at the end of the day, and they could kick me out of the account at any time. And that's I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned is you guys gotta, number one, you guys gotta own the domain. That's first and foremost. You guys gotta own the domain. Go on GoDaddy.com, buy a domain, a unique domain, and making sure that that you own it. Number two, you got to own the website. Number three, you got to own your Google Ads account. You got to own your Google Ads account, meaning the Google Ads account is under your email, under your credit card, under your everything, because that is one of the most painful transitions I had to do when I was trying to get my Google Ads account and my website access when I was going from Stillwater to Ad Leverage, is that they were literally flat out telling me, "Nope, we're not going to give it to you." They were holding me hostage for about 30 days, 30 to 45 days. Our lead count went down. Phones weren't ringing. Our website, we didn't have access to our website. All the lead forms, all the form fill outs, all the leads that were coming in through our website, we weren't getting any information for about 30 days. Unfortunately, I had to get lawyers involved in my early stages. I had to get lawyers involved, and within 48 hours of me getting my lawyers involved, they granted me access to my website, to my Google Ads, to my Yelp. Like they gave me everything to it. They couldn't, we were in the middle of doing an aggressive lawsuit against them. So that's the one lesson I learned, man. You guys gotta own everything. Everything has to be under your name. Most of these marketing companies will hold you hostage to your website, to your Google Ads account, to your Yelp account, to your social media, to your domain, to your website hosting, to all that. In whether it's a bad relationship, whether it's you owe them money, whether you didn't get the performance, whatever the case is of the breakup or the separation is, there should never be nobody should ever have an upper hand on your business, because there's way too many people depending on your operation for you guys to be half-assing it and letting these marketing companies hold you hostage. So the the one lesson I learned is you guys have to own your IP. You guys have to own your IP. You guys have to own every single part of your business, and making sure that it's under your name, under your corporation, under your license, under your email addresses, is a huge lesson that I had to learn the hard way. And then look, after Ad Leverage, after I sold NextGen, Ad Leverage and NextGen parted ways. That second transition when Ad Leverage and NextGen parted ways, because I sold the company and Wrench brought their own marketing company. That was a smooth transition. Meaning, Ad Leverage handed everything over. All Wrench had to do was, literally delete some of the management accounts or get them off the hosting, off the website. And then, it was a smooth transition. They didn't have to fight for anything. So one lesson I could tell you guys that I learned in the marketing side is that you guys got to learn to own everything and put everything under your name, under your email, where nobody else could mess with you. Because as soon as somebody has control over you or somebody has an upper hand on you, they could literally ruin your business. Let's read some of these comments, man. Some of these posts. Okay, what's one marketing lesson you learned the hard way? Look, I'm gonna read some of these, harsh truths that some of our NCU contractors had to experience. Travis, which my best friend, just put on the group, giving them a budget is like giving your wife a budget. They will acknowledge it exists, but won't honor it, and still expect to pay more to pay me. Okay, let me do it again. Giving them a budget is like giving my wife a budget. They will acknowledge and it exists, but won't honor it, and still expect me to pay the bill. That's what Travis said. So look, managing a budget with your marketing company is a complex. How could I put this? It's a very complex relationship, because look, what happens is that we could give you a budget of, like, let's say, hey, in January it's shoulder season, I'm going to give you a budget of $100,000, right? And what happens is that $100,000 budget, the weather might not be cooperating. There's noise in the economy. There's a war going. Whatever it is that's affecting the budget. So now most people, what they tend to do is they panic, and they know that they got to spend $100,000 to produce X amount, but they panic and they start overspending on marketing to fix the flaws that they have no control of. Okay, listen to what I just said. People will overspend on marketing to fix flaws inside the operation that they should be having more control of. Meaning, in order for the marketing to work, whether it's shoulder season or on season, there has to be an operational process from the time the customer calls in to the time you're taking payment. That is called a customer experience. You got to perfect that to be able to maximize your marketing dollars. Your marketing dollars and your marketing budget. You can't just expect to spend X amount and get 6 to 10 times return on that if you don't have a flawless customer experience that can produce those type of results. One of the biggest mistakes I see contractors do in the marketing aspect is that they just throw money at a magazine, at a Valpak, at a Google Ads account, at a SEO campaign, at a Yelp account, or at a magazine, whatever source that they're doing. They throw money on it and they expect 10, 20x on that when they still haven't even perfected the operational side. So besides owning all your IP and owning everything under your name and your email address and your accounts be under your corporation. Besides that, the second advice I would tell contractors when spending marketing dollars, or when trying to invest into marketing to grow your company, you guys got to make sure that you guys take a look at the operation and really dig into, hey, what happens when we book a call to when we collect the payment, because that is going to be the most effective part of your marketing. Half of the battle is making the phones ring. The other half is knowing what to do when the phones ring. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions we have in the industry, is that these marketing companies are supposed to produce dollars for us. No. The biggest misconception people have when they talk about marketing is that marketing is just for us to get leads and get us in the door. Once the phone rings, it's up to us what happens from the point of the call to the point of dispatching, to the point of entering the home, the way we present ourselves, the way we uniform ourselves, the way we present the options, the way we, like, every single step inside the operation called the customer experience is the other half of the battle that makes the 50%, the initial 50% of your marketing super effective, hyper effective, and can give you a 10 ROI, 20 ROI on it when you focus on the customer experience. So I want you guys to make sure that before you start investing heavy dollars into marketing, you really take a look at your operation. I'll give you guys one example where you guys miss it. I've gone on your Yelp accounts, I've gone on your Google accounts, and responsiveness on DMs, responsiveness on comments, responsiveness on leads is a huge miss for most of our contractors, because they're tied up in the field running jobs, or they're bidding jobs, or they're inside customer's house, or they don't have the right personnel that's really keeping track of it. You guys gotta be super responsiveness. If you guys, when I was at Next Gen Air Conditioning or Home Comfort, our response time, listen to what I'm gonna say, our response time on Yelp and Google was less than 5 minutes. Our response time on Google and Yelp and social media was less than 5 minutes. Okay? That's why we were able to effectively get inside the home over and over and over, because people knew that when they looked at our Yelp account, it says response time typically responds in 30 minutes, an hour. Some of you guys respond in days, and you guys are wondering why people aren't choosing you. Customers aren't going to wait days for you to respond to a DM. We had a fast response team. At first it was just one person. We built it out to, I think, four or six different people as we kept growing the company. But the fast response team, all they were in charge of was responding to comments, responding to reviews, responding to DMs, responding to leads on Yelp, responding to Google leads, responding to any text messages that were coming through Service Titan. Now that you guys are on our Nuvet platform, the fast response team would be in charge of responding to messages that you send on the thermostat or the app. You guys got to do a way better job on being responsiveness. So let's take this back to step number one. What would I recommend you guys do different in your marketing journey as you guys keep investing into growing? Number one, owning everything. That's first and foremost. Number two, making sure that you deep dive into your operation from the time the phone rings to the time the customer is making a payment to your company, and making that as frictionless as possible. That will give your marketing dollars a 10x, right? Because if you could have the best name, the best billboards, the best radio ads, the best TV, you could have the best response time on Google, the best response time on Yelp. If you don't have a flawless customer experience where you or your mother or your cousins or your brother can call in and go from step A to step Z when they're collecting payment in a frictionless way, no matter how good your marketing is, you're always going to be struggling for leads, okay? And then the last and the most important thing about the marketing is controlling the budget and controlling how much you spend on, and always modifying your spend. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see contractors do in our industry is they think that, this is the budget for marketing. I'm going to spend, $100,000 on Google. I'm going to spend $10,000 on SEO. I'm going to spend $10,000 on Yelp. I'm going to spend, $25,000 on, and they think that mix works for the whole year. And that is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. My marketing budget fluctuated every single month, every single quarter, every single year. We fluctuated the budget depending on our capacity planning inside our operation, meaning I always looked at my board. Because the one thing that marketing can't lie, or the one thing that nobody could deny, is the calls that are on the board. Okay, the calls that are on the board told me everything about marketing. Okay. One of the best things that happened to our industry was Service Titan. Service Titan gave us visibility into our marketing sources that before we've never had. We were doing manually. We were asking on the phone. We were tracking phone numbers. We would rarely be able to track your websites, your Googles, your Yelps, all that, because we didn't have the technology. When Service Titan came in and gave us clarity into the operation, it gave us clarity into what sources were giving us the best ROI, what sources were giving us the best the best leads, right? So 3-step process on the marketing is making sure you own anything. Number 2, making sure your customer experience is flawless from the point of contact to the point of collection payment. And then number 3, and most importantly, this is where you as an operator become successful and this is what separates the kitties from the lions, is making sure that you guys are always paying attention to your marketing mix and how it fluctuates. Just because in January you spent $100,000 on PPC and LSA, and in February you did the same $100,000, but you didn't get the results you wanted because of X, Y, and Z. You guys are always supposed to be fluctuating your budget. In the off season, I'll give you guys a huge pointer, and this is for my HVAC guys or any seasonal business. In the off season, I was going heavy on traditional media. Heavy on traditional media, meaning, I would shift my budget from, high, 60 to 80% was spent on Google and Yelp and digital and all that. 60 to 80% was spent during the on season on that. And then only 20 to 30% was spent on traditional. Well, in the off season, when it's 72 degrees outside and nobody gives a flying fuck about us, I would fluctuate the budget to go the other way. Meaning, nobody's on Google looking for you. Nobody's on Yelp looking for you because there's no demand out there. So I would trim down my Google budget and I would go heavy on the traditional side to be able to stay top of mind with all my clients. Meaning, direct mail, billboards, radio, TV, magazines, coupons, all the guerrilla marketing, that what we call the guerrilla marketing. I would increase that in the off season, and then when on season came in, that it started heating up to 90, 95 degrees, I shifted the budget backwards and I started going heavy on search because that's where everybody was at. They were looking for our service, right? For my plumbers, you guys don't have that huge of a seasonality. I would spend an 80-20 rule on my marketing budget, meaning every time they need you, they're gonna go to Google or Yelp to look for you, or social media. I would keep a steady budget of 70 to 80% on my search, and then the other 20 to 30% would be on traditional media to feed my search, right? To feed my search, because I've told you guys this before. There's 3 different things that affect marketing and that give you guys a higher lead conversion online, and that is reputation, reviews, and repetitiveness, right? Recognition. Like, that is the one thing that you guys got to make sure you guys do. You guys could spend $100,000 on Google and zero on traditional media, right? 0 on branding, what we call branding. You guys could spend, $100,000, 100% of your budget on search and 0 on traditional media. You're gonna have a low conversion because nobody's heard of you. Nobody's heard of you. Now, you can increase a little bit of the guerrilla marketing and start branding yourself as the experts, as the top tier company, and that's where you're going to see the biggest conversion. When they see your direct mail piece, when they see a billboard, when they see you on TV, when they heard you on the radio, and then when they need you, they go on it and they seen that name again. That's when it clicks to them. Oh, that's that billboard company. Oh, that's that. I seen that piece, that company. They send me direct mail pieces to my house all the time. Let me choose them. They're going to choose you over the competitor just because they've heard of you before and you sound like a trustworthy name and they've seen you before. So always learn that the marketing mix is always fluctuating, and you guys as operators is to keep your pulse on your marketing and making sure that you guys always have the right mix is essential to running a profitable business, but essential to also running a hyper growth business. Okay, so take a step back. Let's make sure that we always focus on the marketing side of it, owning all your IP and owning all your accounts and putting everything on your email and your credit cards. Number 2, making sure that you guys are always staying on top of the customer experience between the point of contact to the point of collecting payment. And lastly, making sure that you guys are always paying attention to your marketing mix is essential to running a profitable business. One of the key things that I've always said is, and I'll dumb it down for all my contractors that have the same IQ level as me. I'll dumb it down for you guys. Marketing is when you're building a business, is essentially like building a car. Okay, you need tires, you need a transmission, you need an engine, you need a frame, you need seats, you need air conditioning. So you're building piece by piece inside the operation, and marketing, and the operation is the actual car. What I've told all my contractors is that when you guys think about marketing, marketing is like going to the gas station and fueling up your car, getting ready so it could push forward. Okay. Most of the contractors that I talk to complain about not having leads, about not growing, about how hard it is to trust a marketing company. And essentially what I tell them is, look, this is how simple marketing is. You built an operation, whether you're a $1 million operation or a $10 million or a $100 million operation. You built a car that's ready to be fueled up, okay? When you guys pull up to the gas station, there's different types of gas in there. There's 87, there's 89, there's 91, there's premium, there's all this, right? All these names for it, okay? Marketing is essentially the same way. You guys pull up to the gas station, instead of thinking, I'm just gonna put gas on the car and go. You guys sit down and ponder in front of that gas pump, and you guys are there for days and years and months, and time passes by, and you guys are still questioning, which gas should I put? And that's the biggest problem we have in our industry, and why 94% of contractors stay under $2 million is because they're at the gas pump wondering which gas they should put in the car instead of putting gas in the car. When we were growing Next Gen and Home Comfort, we weren't thinking, should I put 87, should I put 89, or should I put 91? We were thinking, how much gas can I put so I can get this operation going? And that's that is the simplest way I could put how effective and important marketing is. The marketing side is the fuel inside your operation. Your operation is the car. Stop complaining on why the car's not moving when you're not investing into the gasoline. Stop complaining why you haven't moved in years, the needle hasn't moved in years, when there's no gas in the tank. Stop complaining why you ran out of gas when the first thing you did is you hit a traffic bump. You hit a traffic bump, and the first thing you do is, oh no, I'm not gonna spend on gas. We're in the middle of traffic. No. Stop complaining why the operation's not moving forward when there's no gas in the tank. Stop complaining why there's no leads if there's no investment into marketing. Stop complaining why your technicians are going home early and why there's no revenue coming in when the phones aren't ringing. Because you decided to pull your marketing budget down. Because you decided that you invested, $5,000 on this magazine one time and you got 3 calls and it wasn't worth it. Marketing is just like gas. You gotta constantly be filling up the gas tank. You cannot run an operation with no gas. You cannot run an operation with no gas because essentially you're complaining about the dumbest things, which is, why am I not moving forward? And the answer is super simple. You don't have any gas in the tank.